my name is Elise and welcome back to another week with the Foundry Kids, and welcome to the third week of our August series called Canvas. In this series, we are talking about how God made us unique and God made us creative, and today we're talking about how God can use our uniqueness and our creativity to solve problems, even some really big problems, and that's what we're going to talk about in our lesson today. But before we talk about our lesson today, we are going to stand up and sing a song.
I'm blown away by your love for me. It goes on and never ends. I belong to you. I'm chosen by you. Forever, I'm your friend. You'll always be right here with me. I'm so thankful for your love. No matter what I do, I know this is true. You're by my side, you'll never leave. I wanna thank you, God, for showing me who I am. You're so good, you help me to understand. We are your sons and daughters. You're such an amazing father. Thank you, God, for coming to rescue me. You're so good, God, you're everything I need. Every minute of every day, I just wanna say thank you, God. I'm blown away by your love for me. It goes on and never ends. I belong to you. I'm chosen by you. Forever, I'm your friend. You'll always be right here with me. I'm so thankful for your love. No matter what I do, I know this is true. You're by my side, you'll never leave. I wanna thank you, God, for showing me who I am. You're so good, you help me to understand. We are your sons and daughters. You're such an amazing father. Thank you, God, for coming to rescue me. You're so good, God, you're everything I need. Every minute of every day, I just wanna say thank you, God. You sent your son to set us free. For your love and kindness, I will sing. You sent your son to set us free. For your love and kindness, I will sing. I wanna thank you, God, for showing me who I am. You're so good, you help me to understand. We are your sons and daughters. You're such an amazing father. Thank you, God, for coming to rescue me. You're so good, God, you're everything I need. Every minute of every day, I just wanna say thank you, God.
Our Bible story today comes from the book of Genesis, which is the very first book in the Bible. But this actually comes from kind of the end of the first book of the Bible. So it's Genesis chapter 40 and 41. And we are talking about someone named Joseph. Now, I know we've talked about Joseph before, but I think it's been a little bit since we've talked about him. And Joseph was a really cool guy. I actually really loved this story for a long time. This was one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And if you want to hear like a really creative version of it, because we're talking about how Joseph was kind of creative today, there is a musical about Joseph, and I think it's super fun. I don't know if you guys will think it's fun, but I think it's super fun. So I'm really excited to talk about Joseph today. Joseph had 12 brothers. Well, no, wait, he was one of 12. So he had 11 brothers, which is a ton of brothers. And they didn't always like him. And I mean, I have little sisters, and I wasn't always super nice to them, but what Joseph's brothers did to him was super mean, and they actually made him leave the country that he grew up in. Super mean. And Joseph didn't even do anything wrong, but God was still able to use Joseph to save his entire family. And so today we're going to learn about how God used Joseph to save not just his entire family, but an entire country. So let's learn more about that in our lesson video.
Speaking of waiting, it's time for...
The story before the story.
Today, we're in Book 1 of the Old Testament, Genesis. God created this amazing world, but people turned away and broke their relationship with God.
But God had a creative plan. God promised to restore people to relationship through Abraham and Sarah's family. One of Abraham's great-great-grandsons was Joseph.
God had given Joseph a gift for understanding dreams, but this gift got him into trouble with his brothers. Long story short, they sold him to be enslaved in Egypt. Even worse, Joseph was lied about and thrown into Pharaoh's prison.
But God had also given Joseph the gift of wisdom and the ability to lead others. So, even though he was in prison, Joseph was placed in charge of all the other prisoners.
Which is where our story starts.
Take it away!
Hey everyone, I'm Erica.
Hey, Erica.
Joseph must have felt like he had a world of problems on his back, but he was about to face a challenge bigger than being in prison. In fact, this challenge was bigger than the whole country of Egypt, but God had been preparing Joseph for many years. One day, Joseph saw that two of the other prisoners were upset.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
We both had dreams last night that have left us confused.
Yeah, we can't figure them out.
Because of his gift from God, Joseph was able to understand what the dreams meant, and everything Joseph told the two men came true. One of the men, the Pharaoh's drink taster, was released from prison just 3 days later. Before he left, he promised to tell Pharaoh about Joseph. But the drink taster forgot. Years went by. Yes, years. Joseph continued to serve faithfully in the prison. One day, Pharaoh himself had 2 dreams that he could not figure out.
Can no one tell me what these dreams mean?
Pharaoh had asked all the magicians and wise men of Egypt to help him, but none of them could offer an explanation.
Oh, great Pharaoh, I've just remembered. 2 years ago, you were angry and put me in prison. While I was there, I had a dream, and a young Israelite man told me what it meant. Everything he said came true.
Guards, bring me this Israelite at once.
Joseph was given clean clothes and a haircut and presented to Pharaoh.
I've heard you can interpret dreams.
I can't do it. My God is the one who knows what dreams mean.
Good enough for me. Here is my first dream. I was standing at the edge of the Nile River. 7 healthy cows came out of the water and started to eat. Then, 7 bony, unhealthy cows came out of the water and ate the healthy cows, but stayed just as bony as they were before.
Pharaoh also explained the second dream, in which the same thing happened with heads of grain.
Now, young man, what do you say?
God had given Joseph a gift, and Joseph had practiced for many years. He was ready.
Both of Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. God is showing you the future. The 7 healthy cows and heads of grain represent 7 years where you will have plenty of food to harvest, more than you'll need. And the 7 skinny cows and dried up heads of grain represent 7 years of famine and hunger.
Then, God gave Joseph a creative idea.
You should find a man who is wise, understanding, and trustworthy. Put him in charge of all the food in Egypt. During the 7 years of plenty, he should gather and store it up. Then, during the years when there is very little, you'll have plenty to share.
Pharaoh looked at Joseph in amazement.
I think you are that man. Your God, who has given you this understanding, will be with you. So, I will make you second in command of all of Egypt.
Joseph was given finer robes and even Pharaoh's official ring. He had been enslaved or in prison for more than 10 years, yet now he was the second most important person in the whole land. During the next 7 years, Joseph traveled all over, making sure grain was stored up. Huge amounts of grain. So much grain, they couldn't even count it. Then the famine came. No one could find enough to eat in Egypt or the lands beyond. People came from everywhere to beg Pharaoh for food. And he sent them to Joseph, who provided what each family needed to live. Even Joseph's own family came from Canaan in search of food. And in the end, the creativity God gave Joseph helped save Joseph's family from starvation too. The end.
So, was this a brand new way of storing food that Joseph invented?
Well, the Egyptians have never needed to store up this much food for so long. I mean, I can't imagine where I want to put all my popcorn for the next 7 years, along with all the other food.
So,
What's our part in the story?
You may never be imprisoned unfairly or asked to appear before a king, but we all encounter problems to solve in our daily lives. Some can seem smallish, and some can seem really big.
Like if I have a disagreement with one of my friends on how to play a game.
You can use the creativity God's placed inside you to figure out a new way to play together.
I feel like I'm not always that good at that kind of problem solving.
Well, remember that God has always been in the business of problem solving. Even when we turned away, God sent Jesus to restore our relationship with God. We're each made in God's image, so we can reflect that problem-solving creativity. But it does take practice. Joseph had to practice his gifts for years before he found himself in front of Pharaoh.
So, what if I don't know what my gifts are?
Well, you can use your imagination to help you figure this out. Think of things you do that seem to make others happy. Maybe writing a story or planning a party.
I like making snacks for my friends.
I like helping people organize things.
Sounds like you're on the right path. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, Erica.
Joseph faced a lot of big problems in his life, but that didn't stop God from using Joseph to help save a bunch of people. Not only was Joseph able to save his family, Joseph was able to save a bunch of people in the country that he lived in, which is awesome. And this week, I want you guys to think about the different ways that you can help people and how God has given you gifts that you can use to help other people. So I really want you to think about this week. And before we go, I wanted to talk about the 10 Commandments. So this month we have been doing the 10 Commandments as our memory verse. Now I shortened it because the 10 Commandments is like an entire chapter in the book of Exodus. But let's go over these 10 Commandments real quick. So we're going to put God first, have no fake gods, respect God's name, respect God's day of rest, respect our parents, don't kill people, respect marriage, don't steal, don't lie, and don't be jealous. So that is our 10 Commandments, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Okay, bye.